Have you ever worked hard, given your best, and still felt invisible? You show up every day, do everything that's asked of you, sometimes even more, and yet, no one seems to notice. It's as if your efforts have become expected, your presence taken for granted. In life, hard work alone isn't always enough. You must also make others see your worth, because even the brightest light can be ignored when it never fades. Think of a lamp that stays lit all the time. Everyone grows used to its glow. But the moment that lamp goes out, suddenly the darkness reminds them of how much it mattered. We are the same. People often realize our value only when we're no longer there to give, to help, to shine. So before life forces others to notice what they've been overlooking, learn to recognize your own worth. Today's story will show you why knowing your value and maintaining balance can change everything. Once upon a time, in a small town, there was a young man who worked in a bustling factory. He was new, full of energy, and eager to prove himself. Day after day, he put his heart into his work, never late, never distracted, never careless. Among the many workers stood an old craftsman, wise and skilled, who had spent decades perfecting his art. He noticed the young man's dedication and decided to take him under his wing. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the factory walls, the old craftsman said, "Listen carefully, my boy. If you want to succeed in life, don't just work hard, work wisely. Stay focused, speak less, and make yourself so skilled that no one can replace you." The young man nodded eagerly, taking every word to heart. He began to see his work not as a routine, but as a craft worth mastering. From that day on, he practiced precision, patience, and discipline. Every sound of the machines, every detail of the work, he studied it all. Slowly, he became one of the best workers in the factory. And when the old craftsman finally retired, the young man proudly took his place, determined to live by his mentor's teachings. Years passed, and the young man's hard work began to shine through. He became the most skilled technician in the factory, the one everyone turned to when things went wrong. His hands moved with confidence. His mind knew every process by heart. The machines that confused others responded easily to his touch. He never sought attention, never boasted, and never failed to do his job with quiet dedication. His reputation grew, and soon, even the managers trusted him completely. When a task seemed impossible, they called his name. When a deadline was tight, they relied on him. He was proud, but also humble, believing that his mentor's advice had carried him here. He thought, "As long as I work hard and stay focused, success will always find me." But over time, a quiet disappointment began to creep in. He noticed that others, people with half his skill and less commitment, were being promoted. They were earning more, getting recognition, and moving ahead, while he remained where he started. The same job, the same pay, the same silence that he couldn't understand it. How can they rise while I stay still? He wondered. The harder he worked, the less he seemed to be noticed. His faith in his mentor's lesson began to waver, and he started to question if hard work alone was truly enough. One afternoon, unable to hold his frustration any longer, the young man decided to visit his old mentor. When he arrived, the elderly craftsman was sitting on his porch, polishing an old wooden chair under the warm glow of the sun. The mentor looked up, smiled gently, and said, "It's been a while, my boy. What troubles you?" The young man sighed deeply and said, "Master, I've done everything you told me. I work with full focus, I stay quiet, and I make sure no one in the factory can do what I do. Yet, People who aren't even half as skilled as me are getting promoted. My salary hasn't changed since I was your assistant. Tell me, what am I doing wrong?" The old craftsman listened quietly, nodding as his former student spoke. After a long pause, he asked softly, "Do you truly believe you've become important to the factory?" The young man answered confidently, "Yes, I'm sure of it. Without me, things would fall apart." The old man smiled faintly and said, "Then do one thing. Take a day off tomorrow. Tell them you're unwell. You've worked hard. It's time to rest a little." The young man hesitated. "A day off?" he repeated, puzzled. "What good will that do?" "Just trust me," said the craftsman, his eyes twinkling with quiet wisdom. "Sometimes you need to step away to see what truly matters." The next morning, the young man followed his mentor's advice and took the day off. For the first time in years, he didn't walk through the factory gates. Instead, he stayed home, uncertain and uneasy, wondering what might be happening without him there. When he returned the following day, his manager immediately called him into the office. "Where were you yesterday?" the manager asked, his tone both surprised and concerned. "Because you weren't here, the factory faced chaos. The tasks you usually handle so smoothly were left incomplete. Machines broke down, and no one knew how to fix them. We realized how much we depend on you." The young man stood quietly, trying to hide his surprise. Then, to his astonishment, the manager smiled and said, "You've proven your worth. From today, you'll be promoted to senior technician." For a moment, he couldn't believe what he'd heard. A wave of gratitude washed over him. He remembered his mentor's words, "Sometimes you need to step away to see what truly matters." It all made sense now. His brief absence had shown the factory how essential he truly was. From that day on, whenever he felt overlooked or undervalued, he remembered the trick. If the world forgot his worth, he would simply step back and let his absence remind them. At first, the young man's new approach seemed to work perfectly. Every time he felt ignored or underappreciated, he would take a day off. And each time, the same thing happened. Panic spread through the factory. His absence was noticed, and he returned to praise and gratitude. It felt like a secret weapon, a way to remind everyone of his value. But as months passed, something began to change. His absences became more frequent. What once surprised his colleagues began to frustrate them. The managers started planning around his days off, assigning others to cover his tasks. The workers who once admired him began to whisper that he was unreliable. Slowly, the same factory that once depended on him began to adapt. And then, to replace him, one morning, he arrived at the factory gate only to find it closed to him. His name had been removed from the roster. His heart sank as the security guard quietly said, "I'm sorry, but your position has been filled." Stunned and hurt, he turned away, realizing that the very lesson that had once brought him success had now cost him everything. Heartbroken and confused, the young man went straight to his old mentor's house. The elder craftsman was sitting by the window, calmly sipping tea when his former student burst in. "Master," he said, his voice trembling with frustration, "why did this happen? I followed your advice. I worked hard, and when they ignored me, I stepped away, just like you told me. But now I've lost everything." "What?" The old man looked at him quietly for a moment, then set his cup down. "My boy," he said gently, "you only learned half the lesson, not the whole." The young man frowned, unsure what he meant. "You understood," said the old craftsman, "that when a lamp stays lit all the time, people take its light for granted. They only notice it when it goes out. But you were so eager to apply that wisdom, you forgot the second part. The second part? The young man asked softly. The mentor smiled sadly. Yes, if a lamp keeps going out again and again, sooner or later, people will replace it with one they can rely on. It's not enough to remind people of your worth. You must also be dependable enough to keep shining. The young man lowered his head as the truth settled in. His mentor was right. He had mistaken pride for wisdom. The old craftsman looked at his student kindly and said, "Remember this. Wisdom is balance. You must know your worth, but never become arrogant about it. Be humble, but never let others take you for granted. True success lies in harmony, between presence and absence, between confidence and humility." The young man nodded slowly, his heart heavy but clear. He finally understood. In trying to prove his importance, he had forgotten the true purpose of his work: consistency, reliability, and quiet strength. A lamp isn't valuable because it flickers off and on, but because it shines steadily, no matter what. The mentor smiled. And remember, he added softly, just as you want others to see your worth, never forget to see the worth of those around you. Your friends, your family, your co-workers. They might seem ordinary today, but if they were gone, you'd realize how much light they bring to your life. As the young man walked away that evening, he felt wiser, calmer, and more grateful than ever before. He had lost his job, but gained something far greater: understanding. Because in the end, knowing your worth isn't about proving you're irreplaceable. It's about shining with purpose, with balance, and with gratitude. And so, remember this: your worth doesn't fade because others fail to see it. Keep doing your best, keep shining, and keep growing. The right people will always recognize your light. But even more important than being noticed is knowing your own value. Be the lamp that shines steadily, not for attention, but because that's what it was made to do. If this story touched your heart, give it a like, share it with someone who needs a reminder of their worth, and subscribe to Wordy Tales for more stories that inspire, heal, and awaken wisdom.